Broadcasting live, brother. Welcome back to Talkin Boxing with Billy C on the mighty TPSradio.net, brother. What you gonna do, brother?
And we're back. You're listening to the Talkin Boxing with Billy C show. Hey man, don't forget, check out their website, www.billycboxing.com. And while you're checking stuff out, follow us on Twitter. We're looking to get 10,000 Twitter followers. We're about halfway there, so we need you to follow us on Twitter. It's at Talkin Boxing. That's TalkinBoxing. Now joining me right now, Boxing Hall of Famer and the Commissioner of New Jersey, Larry Hazzard. What's up, brother?
Hey, Billy, what's going on? What's going on, baby?
Not too much, man. Not too much. You know, it's been a slow couple of weeks in the sport of boxing. I wanted to ask you a question about judging. All right, now we've talked about this many, many times, but once again, last week on Friday Night Fights, Sergio Mora fought Abby Hahn in a fight that, listen, I'm not a big fan of Sergio Mora. I think he's one of the most boring fighters I've ever seen. It is what it is what it is, right? And I'm not going to harp on that because I've said enough. And when I looked at Hahn is not. I've seen him fight several times, and I mean he tries and everything. He's just he's lacking a little bit in skill. But when we went to the scorecards once again, Teddy Atlas is about to blow a gasket because the scores were not equal to his, and I've criticized him many times about him when he scores something. If you don't score it the way he did, even if it's a point off, it's a robbery, it's corrupt, it's fixed, it's this, it's that. My question to you is this. To me, the fight was close, okay? To me, the fight was close. I actually thought Abby Hahn won the fight, but, and I'm okay with the scores. But here's my question to you. I've always complained about the judging in a sense where we all know what the judging criteria is, but where I feel it falls short is that you might be judging and put an emphasis in solid punches. I might be judging and put an emphasis in number of punches landed, and I think that's when we get these fluctuation in scoring. What's your thoughts about that? I mean, with this particular fight, do you think it was a case of that? Do you just think it was a close fight? I mean, what can we do to shorten the gap between these guys?
Well, I think it was a close fight, and I had no problem with the decision, and I agree with pretty much what you're saying. I happen to have thought that Mora won the fight, okay? Very close, boring, but I thought he won the fight. Now, your question, I favor number of punches scoring in the scoring area, because I've said it over and over. I just don't believe that a judge has the ability to really accurately measure, okay, the effectiveness of a punch. Okay, a solid punch is a solid punch, but judges are supposed to score a fight in accordance with how many punches are scored in the scoring area. That's basically it. And I think also one of the problems in scoring is that everybody seems to want to score around 10-9, 10-9, 10-9, unless a knockdown occurs. A 10-9 round is only supposed to be for a very close round. And if a round is not close, then the judge who wins the round should win the round 10-8, not 10-9. 10-9s are only supposed to be for very close rounds. The rules and regulations in most commissions clearly tell you that. So if a fighter comfortably wins a round, then that round should be 10-8, whether he scored a knockdown or not. And then if a knockdown occurs, it actually should be a 10-7. But nobody wants to go off on the limb and, explore the new paradigm in judging. So everybody is just used to scoring these rounds 10-9, 10-9. And I'm telling you, when judges begin to become more flexible in using those numbers, it's my belief that you're going to see decisions that are a little bit more fair and less controversial. That's my personal opinion.
It's funny because I think that's what the movement in amateur boxing is. They're starting to score it more like that. Because when I did the Florida Golden Glove finals last year, they were explaining that exact thing to me, and some scores were 10-7, 10-6.
That's the way it's supposed to be. Look. If you win a round very, very, very close, okay, 10-9s are supposed to be reserved for very, very close rounds. And in most rules and regulations, it even says it. That's the nomenclature that's used. Very close rounds, 10-9. So if a round is not very close and Billy C. comfortably wins the round, then the round should be 10-8. Okay? So, you shouldn't have to wait for a knockdown to occur for a round to be a 10-8 round. So, why do you have a 10-point must system? Where you have scores where judges rarely go below a 10-8. That's ridiculous. And I really think that when judges begin to become a bit more liberal with those numbers, you're going to see less controversies in these decisions. That's my opinion, and I really feel strongly about it. And I've been encouraging my judges in our seminars to do that.
So, in other words, I'm fighting fighter B, and I'm battering him around the ring, and the judge is about to score to 10-8, and just at the bell, I drop the guy. So theoretically, that becomes a 10-7 round.
If you've been battering him around the ring, of course,
right.
You clearly won the round, absolutely.
Right, because and in some cases, what judges do now is they actually do the opposite. You have fighter A battering fighter B for 2 minutes and 45 seconds, and then fighter B lands a lucky shot and drops fighter A.
And then fighter B wins the round 10-8. 10-8!
Right? Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
That's exactly what happened.
You're telling me, hey, yeah, you're letting one knockdown take away all the work that the other fighter has done.
Yep.
And that's unfair. That's clearly unfair.
Yeah, no, you're right. Hey, listen, I got a let's put yourself in Larry Hazzard's position question. I got actually two of them. So let's assume. So let's line all of this up so that it's a clear-cut decision for you in New Jersey. Let's say that this fight, let's go back to that Friday night fight. Let's say, and I hate to mention this guy's name because I happen to like Bill Clancy. He helped me promote fights in the Carolinas and everything else. But in the fight between Hamed Ibale and Dustin Eckerd, there was that's a whole nother story. It's a clear case of a padded record. You had an undefeated guy that looked like he didn't even know how to fight. But this guy, Ibale, was destroying him. He drops him. And I don't know if I've ever seen this before, or at least recently, but the referee in this case, I mentioned his name, I don't want to keep bashing him, but he counts him. He asks if he's okay, and he didn't force the guy to walk towards him away from the ropes, and he lets the fight continue. And the guy seemed kind of helpless against the ropes. I mean, I thought he made a big mistake. He was lucky that he didn't get that kid hurt. Did you see that, and what's your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I thought that the action was improper. Okay, in that I don't think that he made a complete assessment of the fighter, because that's how fighters get seriously hurt. But I'm going to add something else to that. When a fighter experiences a concussive episode, this command where referees are telling the fighter, walk towards me. Okay, I can't argue with that. However, that's a learned response. Most fighters will do that even when they're hurt. Okay, I suggest that you move over to the side and tell them to turn around and walk towards you. That's a better measurement. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
That's a better measurement of his neurological condition. But I thought in that particular situation, I thought that Clancy could have been a little bit more on the assessment side, because that fighter could have got seriously injured.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah,
Because I don't think he did a complete assessment of that fighter, and he allowed it to continue.
because the fighter got up. He was against the ropes. He was saying, "I'm okay," and then
Yeah,
Clancy.
well, they all say that.
I know. And Clancy said, "Okay, resume action," and he was still against the ropes, almost tangled in the rope. Remember, the one knockdown, he went through the ropes. So
Right. Right.
I thought that he was still kind of helpless against the ropes, and ultimately, thank God it was stopped. But okay,
and that's how guys get hurt. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
The referees falter in their mechanics. But I also would like to see referees, kind of move a little bit away from that, walk towards me. That's a learned response. Fighters will do that. You tell them to walk towards you naturally. That's a learned response. You understand? But, tell them to turn around and walk back. Get behind them and tell them, okay, come over here. You understand what I'm saying? Now he has to do a little bit more navigating to show that he's neurologically intact. And there's other little quick assessments that referees could utilize, you understand, to help them determine this particular fighter's fitness to continue in a bout. But I thought, I agree, like you said, that, Clancy kind of faltered in the way that he went about the assessment of that fighter.
Yeah.
And thank God, he didn't get hurt,
another learned response is so obvious is when the fighter puts his gloves up.
Absolutely.
They half of the time
Absolutely.
they can't even take a step forward and their gloves are up. Yeah, I'm okay. But
those are learned responses, and they're not that effective. Not really. Fighters can still be hurt seriously even when they step towards you.
Larry, we both respect Bernard Hopkins. He's 50 years old. He still is competitive in the ring and stuff like that. And, with the change in nutrition over the last 20, 25 years, we're starting to see an infusion of older fighters. And I know it's tough from a commission point of view, because when a fighter passes all their tests and they look like they're in good shape, and, it's hard to decline them an opportunity to make a living. But now I'm starting to see, like, there's a fighter that's fighting in a couple of weeks. He's 50 years old. He's a heavyweight. You're seeing a lot more fighters that want to fight, and there are some commissions that just, hey, when you get to be a certain age, it's over, or you got to go through X, Y, and Z and everything else. And at one time, I made a suggestion about, like, some type of a senior professional league, and people laughed at me, and they're like, "Oh, who wants to see?" It was around the time when Foreman and Larry Holmes were considering a fight not too long ago, about 10 years ago, and who wants to see these guys fight? They were going to call it Geezers at Caesars or something like that, and I'm starting to think. Do you think that it's time, because some of these guys are in good shape, that we have some kind of a division, so to speak, where fighters can compete? So if a guy like Bernard Hopkins is a freak, so he's hard to use as an example, but a guy that's let's say 50 years old, and he's in good shape, and he passed all his medical tests, and he has a willingness to fight. He's got the potential. He's good. All of these things, and he's already a pro. But my hang up is when he steps in with a 25-year-old, and then now you're battling that. Do you think that there's room now for some type of a senior league, or do you think that that's just too deep?
Well, I think it's worth a try. At least these guys would be fighting more on an even keel with one another in terms of age. And look, I'm a very liberal guy when it comes to situations like that, because let the fans decide. You know what I mean? You give it a try, okay? If it catches on, then fine. Okay, if it doesn't, then we say, okay, at least we tried it. It's a good idea. We thought it was a good idea. We didn't compromise anybody's health and safety, but I agree with you in that I feel more comfortable with that than I do with having a 50-year-old fighting a 25-year-old. Okay, and thank God that it's the skill level of some of these younger fighters or of this generation of fighters that's permitting that. I don't really think, and I got the greatest respect for Bernard Hopkins, but I don't really think that a guy like Bernard Hopkins could have done or could do what he's doing, 15 or 20 years ago with some of those fighters, or let's just say, older fighters could not have competed like they do today, a decade or two ago, because of the skill level and the skill set of some of those fighters that were competing, the younger fighters that were competing back a decade or so ago. You follow me with my thought?
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
I would be more comfortable with a senior league, hey, let the old guys fight the old guys.
Right.
If they could get a fan base and you get people that enjoy it, then what's wrong with it? I would be 100% for it.
If the argument, if the guy that's 50 years old, his argument is that's all I know, I'm a boxer, I that's how I make a living, I can't support my family, whatever, and then there has to be some medical issues where a human being at 50 years old is more susceptible to danger, whether it be a brain injury or even bone injury, breaking a hand or
right.
Doing something.
Right.
But if they're fighting, equal aged people,
sure, reflexes, everybody would be within the same ballpark in terms of their physiological status. So that makes it all equal. I mean, how can you argue with it?
Right, and I mean it's relative, So the 50-year-old fighting a 25-year-old, his reflexes are slower and all of that. But now you're fighting another 50-year-old. Well,
right.
You even the playing field. Now it's the better guy really will win. And maybe you could
the playing field is much more level that way.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, maybe you
From
could even
a physiological perspective. Yes, it is.
Maybe even take it a step further and make them use 12-ounce gloves or something like that. And then this way. They would still be able to make a living. I think the issue would be, would anyone be interested in it?
That's it. The issue is the fan base, Billy. Would anybody be interested? And would the fans come out to see it? People pay to see it. That's the interest all the way around.
We have we're getting closer and closer now to the kickoff of Al Haymon's televised series. He's got two of them on two different networks. And, the more I think of it, I've been extremely critical of Al Haymon and, his blueprint for his fighters and stuff. But, I can't help, and I know we talked about this last time a little bit, but I can't help but really think that he's in the driver's seat, because if he can succeed – with getting, corporate USA back into boxing where they're spending money on advertising, and he's able to pull in enough revenue to pay what he's paying to get that time and to pay what he's paying the fighters and all of that, I don't see any negatives, unless, he's putting on Stinkfest, which it doesn't appear to be. At least these first couple of cards that have been scheduled seem like they're good matchups. What's your thoughts? I mean, have you given it any more thought since it was released and, announced? And do you think that he's going to succeed at this?
I'm cheering for it, man. I'm hoping that he does succeed. Because this is, look, how long have we been talking about this? This is bringing primetime boxing back once again to free television, to the network, CBS, NBC, ABC. This is what we've been saying all along. This is what the fans want. This is what the fans need. But, like you said, he must put on good competitive fights. And these first few shows that he has scheduled, he's going right to the gold standard with these guys. And if he can keep it going and get corporate America, the advertisers back, the razor blade company, the shaving cream and all of the other stuff, now it'll be the fast foods and all of the other, enterprises behind it. It's a home run, man, and it's a win-win situation for the sport of boxing. How could I not be for it?
Yeah.
I'm sure that there are a lot of people, competitors out there hoping that he fails, but I'm not one of them. I want him to succeed.
Yeah,
this is a great thing. This will be a great thing for the sport, man.
I agree. Although, like I said, I disagree with some of his, at least up to this point, some of his moves, but I hope he succeeds because it's going to boil down to this. He may have the connections with the right people to write the check for the advertising ad, but ultimately, if he's not putting on a quality product to get the numbers, the viewership numbers, because that's what these sponsors are going to look at. The corporate sponsors are going to look at the ratings. How many people watch? Because they might put their toe in the pool, so to speak, to check out the water. But if the numbers don't jive, after a couple of weeks of running this series, then they're going to pull out, and ultimately it'll fail for him. So, I think I hope he succeeds, and it's going to be. I'm really looking forward to see what corporate America does, how they react.
Well, like you, I believe that if he puts on the quality bouts and creates the fan base, and corporate America sees, okay, because the product doesn't sell unless people's watching the fight, okay. So if they can see the numbers, then it's a home run, man. And I'm pulling for this guy. See, because that's what boxing needs. That's what it needs. It needs for the fans to be able to once again turn on or get excited about a good competitive fight that's coming on a Saturday afternoon or a Saturday evening or a Sunday afternoon. Bring back some of those days where we had the wild world of sports and all of the other stuff. Man, this is what made the sport. Going back generations when they had a Gillette cavalcade of sport. I got into the sport of boxing because I saw Sugar Ray Robinson for free on the Gillette cavalcade of sport back in the 50s. This is how the interest, this will be the rebirth of the whole interest of the sport of boxing. Man, it would be very hypocritical of me to not be pulling for this guy. So I'm just hoping that he's successful, man.
Yeah, me too. I hope it works because I think that if we get that and we get the numbers and we get the sponsors, it's going to trickle down and everyone's going to benefit from it. So I too am rooting for it. And the network television, those afternoon fights. I mean, the one that I always tell people that really got me hooked. I mean, I had watched earlier fights and stuff, but the fight that got me hooked, the fight that really got me into boxing and the nuts and bolts of the sport was Ali against Jimmy Young. I thought that Jimmy Young beat him from ring post to ring post in that fight, and I was shocked that they gave the decision to Ali, and I was hooked ever since. So yeah, and that was Wide World of Sports. That was on an afternoon fight, So
that's right. That's right.
And that was a world title fight. Ali was a champ at the time, So
that's right.
Amazing
That's
stuff.
right.
But anyway, Larry, I know you're busy on the road, and we'll look forward to you next week, my man.
Well, I'm looking forward to it as usual every week, Willie. Okay?
All right, brother. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, stay warm, man. Stay warm.
Oh, God. This winter's like it won't end, man. It's like, what happened? and I think it just started. You don't even want to know how much snow is here, and I know you guys have been getting hit, too. Is it snowing there now?
Well, it was a little bit this afternoon, but it stopped.
Yeah, we're looking at a high beginning tomorrow through the weekend of 8 degrees. So I don't plan on going outside until maybe May. So anyway.
Okay.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you next week, man.
Okay, Billy.
Take care. That's my man Larry Hazzard, Boxing Hall of Famer and the New Jersey State Athletic Commissioner, giving us his thoughts and interesting comments about the scoring because Larry's 100% right. In a fight, you got fighter A and fighter B, and fighter A is dominating fighter B for almost a full 3 minutes, and fighter B lands a lucky shot, or even worse. How about this? How about he lands a punch and fighter A is kind of slipping, and the referee calls it a knockdown, and it really wasn't, and the judges they feel they have to score it 10-8 for favor of fighter B. So I agree with what Larry said 100%. Hey, listen, man. I'm going to take a short break. Now, when we come back, we're scheduled to have Dax Khan give us his weekend boxing schedule roundup. So make sure you stick around for that. I got some more news to talk about, like the return of Nonito Donaire, the official announcement, even though we knew that it was going to happen, but the Danny Garcia and the Lamont Udome Peterson, and we talked a little about Roman Martinez's next fight against Orlando Salido. All of that stuff coming up in about 2.
Talkin'.